Hi, Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dawg, and we got a tremendous show for you today. Yeah, I know you're going to see some new faces, some faces you've seen previously. Somebody's got their speakers up really loud. It's feeding back there. We're going to cut that down. Okay. Well, whatever it is, it is. But anyway, this is the Dawg Pound. To my right, Miss Bobbie Herron, the BDC Diva.
Hello, hello.
How you doing, kid?
I'm doing amazing. The sun is shining. The birds are chirping. I just got back from traveling, and I didn't die. So I'm doing great today.
Fantastic.
The birds chirping early are only fun if they're not outside the windows being rude while you're trying to sleep. That's the worst.
I sleep through things like that. It doesn't matter.
Amazing. That's Patrick. Patrick, introduce yourself, big guy.
Hey, guys. How you doing? Patrick O'Brien, used car Highline exotic dealer in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta, Georgia. Glad to be here. I love you guys all.
And, of course, the all-around diva, Jennifer. Hello.
Hi, Jim. I'm the all-around diva. I guess that's better than dork, right? Or data geek.
Did I say anything like that?
No, I do.
Yeah, she does.
Or data geek? I didn't say anything near like that.
Listen, we sell a lot of cars with that data, so it's okay.
Whoever has their speakers on and called in, you gotta shut off one or the other.
Somebody's got their speakers on.
Somebody's called in and is using the audio on the computer. Woo, whoever was affected.
Somebody's got audio on the computer and they're calling into it. It's a little strange. We're getting a little garbled here.
That's right.
I know it's not because I'm.
Look at the bottom of your screen and hit mute. And if you say hello and you can still talk to us, it's you.
Okay, let's see who it might be.
Is anybody logged in on Facebook as well?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a good question. Nope.
Okay, let's see. Oh, Jennifer, hit mute 1 second.
It's not her.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
There we go.
Now we got the garble back. Somebody hit mute again. Jennifer, you're the mute. You're the garble.
No, I've been muted this whole time.
Yeah.
Why not?
LG, check yours because it didn't start until you jumped on.
So I was on mute, and then I just came off mute.
Okay.
Right. Awesome lesson for our audience. Even people who do this all the time have issues with this kind of thing when we log on. So never feel bad when you experience it.
Well, we don't have it right now. So who?
I'm on.
Okay.
I'm good.
Yep.
Wagner on the sidebar. Okay. Hello, Katie.
Hi, Katie Wagner.
Katie Wagner.
Katie Wagner. She says we are a fantastic panel. Okay. Okay, well, let's continue on. I think that whatever we were doing that garbled is gone.
It's good now.
LG Bright, what is your title at Northwood University?
I get the awesome opportunity to be the chair of the automotive department at Northwood. So all of these great people on this broadcast, we are fans of yours.
Oh, shucks. Oh my gosh. Well, I'm a fan of yours and I'm a fan of Northwood University. I have been working a course there for general managers, and we just graduated some students, which brings me to Jennifer Patton, professor. Hello.
Hi, Jim. It's so great to be here and to see my friends that I haven't seen in a while. Yeah, and it's been fantastic being in your class. I've actually been a student of Jim's at Northwood University. Instead of teaching, I was actually the student, so it was kind of fun.
Hope you have me back. I'm dying to teach an F&I course next time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, have me back. The biggest thing I got out of teaching that class at Northwood is that the students have all kept in touch with me. I mean, I made friends. I really enjoyed that.
They are great kids.
Oh my God, we love them.
And it's a done deal. It's a done deal, Jim. You are coming back as long as you agree to it. We would love to have back in the classroom.
Oh, thank you. My thrill in life right now is giving back to the industry that gave so much to me, and those young people that are attending Northwood and are learning the mechanics of the car business. That means a lot to me. Last but not least, Dave O'Brien, no relation to Patrick O'Brien. Somebody called me last week and said, "Patrick, your illegitimate son." I said, no relation. Dave O'Brien from Quantum5.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
And Patrick and I probably have some heritage back in
somewhere.
Some bog in Ireland back in the day.
Right.
And
Sure.
I don't know. I don't get to be the data geek. Jim, I want to earn the title the anti-consultant, right? So that people will stop picking on consultants, right?
Well, con is to deceive somebody in a criminal way, and insult. We all know what that is. So,
ouch.
They say conversation creates conversation. If you're talking about us, it means you're paying attention.
Well, Bobbie Herron, tell me about what you've been up to the last couple of weeks. You missed last week.
Yeah, I've been having the most amazing last couple of weeks. I went back to travel 2 weeks ago. So I just got home middle of the night last night from 15 days on the road in dealerships. And with friends and clients, we did BDC setup, recruiting and training and process. We did sales, training, recruiting and process. We did leadership, training, recruiting and process. And then we made technology work for the stores that we were in, which was pretty awesome. So a huge CRM focus, which I'm known for that. And a lot of accountability projects that we've been working on in store. So it's so crazy fun. I hit the ocean. I got stuck in a swamp four-wheeling in Massachusetts. I don't know what kind of bacteria I picked up from that, but
this woman has an adventurous life. I'm telling you.
They have swamps in Massachusetts?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And there's pictures to prove it. It's pretty awesome. But the best part, I think, was I got to go between doing what I love at work every day and spending quality time with people I love that I haven't got to see in a long time. So I'm living my best life. And I've always tried to follow the why not instead of why philosophy when an opportunity comes up. And it's worked for me. Yeah. So I got some great social media pictures out of it and had an amazing time.
Now, technically, it might be a bog and not a swamp.
No, that was
okay.
That was straight up swamp. There were things living in there that don't live in
Briggs,
the regular world.
So anal. I mean, a bog, a swamp.
Well, no, this is a thing.
Marsh.
It definitely is a thing as far as
it's a marsh. Don't you know it's a marsh?
It could be a marsh.
I'll tell you this, the four-wheeler that I was in, and we were with like 15 people, so I did a group activity for the first time in a year, and I felt safe. I was in a 4x4 four-wheeler, mud up to here, no joke, underneath the water, because I decided it would be a good idea to jump the hill I was on in a why not situation. It was the best decision ever. And somebody pulled me out immediately. I got to do it again. So it was great.
Okay, let's do some business here, guys.
Okay.
LG Bright, as the chair of automotive at Northwood, what are we lacking? What do the students crave most? What do we really need to supply the next generation?
I think Jim, more than anything else is that proverbial why. Why am I in this business? What is that piece of excitement or enthusiasm or engagement that drives me forward? Now students come with passion, but what's in it for me in terms of, and for some people that's a work-life balance, for some that's compensation, for some that's inspiration, for some that's the give back. But all of them are looking to the industry for inspiration, and that's why it's so important. What social media has brought to us today, shows like this, and that the students can connect with the people from the industry. And as a number of the people on this panel know, we start with industry news. We start with what is going on in the industry. What are they saying at Digital Dealer? What are they saying at Rockstar? What are they saying at CBT or Automotive New Retail Forum? And just like sports talk, where they're talking about their heroes on the athletic field, my students are new. You all to say, hey, what's happening in F&I? What's happening in sales, new and used? What's happening in fix? And we still look to the industry for that spark, for that inspiration to find out what our why is.
Okay, well that lends right, the gentleman right below you on screen, Dave O'Brien.
Yeah, no, I think that's so important, because it's the reason I started what I do, right? Is all about that. How do we connect with that next generation? How do we bring them in? And I got to tell you, as I've worked with some young folks in the last couple of weeks, I'm like Bobbie, I went out in the field recently. I don't know about you, Bobbie. I didn't get to do what you did, though. Instead, my team was at a dealer who has a custom Bronco shop. He started as a hobby that's turned into a crazy successful business, right? But LG, I think even that story of that dealer creating new opportunity for young technicians and creating that next excitement for his whole dealership, his hardest thing now is, how do I keep people that work for him from drooling all over classic restored Broncos that they sell 7 or 8 of a month, right? But I think the more we do to give back to this generation that's coming, I think Jim picked me here for a second just because I'm old, right? Last Friday was my birthday with another trip around the sun.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
I really wanted to,
I didn't even know they started counting back then.
Oh, you are gonna pay. Wow. Hey, if Phil Mickelson can do it, I can still do it.
Right.
The odds were not in his favor.
But I think we have to keep giving to those young people. And what I like about this group, even though I love challenging, we do pick on each other ever so slightly in a nice way, is, what we all want to do is keep giving the modern, different, come on, let's go. There's a better way to treat customers, whether it's on the phone or it's in person, or whether it's cultivating those leaders, as each of us has a passion for, and pouring into people. We may do it in different ways, but everybody on this call is dedicated for how do we get to the Patricks of the world and the other dealers and go, okay, I just want to pour into these people to give them a better shot than, they might have if we didn't pour into it.
Well, I've done something since I saw you guys last.
What was that?
Well,
I buy another car, did you, Jim?
I wrote an article. Now, Jennifer Patton's going to get a kick out of this. I wrote an article in Digital Dealer magazine, and I was really slamming the one-touch sales process where, the salesperson does the deal A to Z, the entire deal all at once. And I got a call from Chip Perry, who is at A to Z Sync,
Right.
which is selling that process to dealers. So Chip and I go way, way, way back. Longer than Dave's been around. A long time. So we go way back. So anyway, Chip said, you kind of unfair, Jim. So we did a show, and I was taking the anti view, and he was taking the pro view, and we went at it. So then they hired me.
A to Z.
You challenged.
A to Z Sync hired me to consult them.
So I remember you just did like an interview on the Alpha Dawg On Demand with them recently.
Right. I did an interview with them, and I was still slamming the process. And I've changed my viewpoint somewhat.
Well, so Jim, they're not just one touch, they're also one price, aren't they?
Well, one price, I'm changing my viewpoint on that too.
What?
Because with digital retail, you almost have to be one jar.
This is
now that digital, I have always moved with the paradigm.
Yeah.
Whatever shift and you know, I've resisted one price. One price was not feasible to me 10 years ago. But today, you have to be one price to do digital retail, and digital retail is here. So understand, I am all about what's here. I'm all about what's here. Well, yes.
On the show 2 months ago, correct me if I'm wrong, because I watched it, because, you know, I have one store that was a Lexus purchase plus express, whatever, right? One price, one person, all the way through. But that model is so hard to create. And I could have sworn on that show that you did with them, they said it is not for everyone.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, this is the discussion this week. Is it for everyone? And the answer is no. And I'm telling you right now, I had in writing, and I'm going to preface this before I opened up to the panel. 10 years ago, I wrote articles that I was creating the executive team in dealerships. I was already doing this years ago, creating an executive team of executive salespeople with executive mentality. I'm not talking about 5-car Fred and a number of people in the dealership are 5-car Fred are never going to be anybody but 5-car Fred or 5-car Frederica, you know. So anyway, what we're dealing with here is I don't want to ever let 5-car Fred handle the F&I part of the sale, the BDC part of the sale, but there are executive salespeople who could very well be managers. So when I met with Chip Perry and the team at A to Zinc and A to Z Sync, and I got a feel for what they do, they have managers. The F&I managers are not completely eliminated. They just switched hats and they have a different role as sales managers and coaches. Yeah. So I can go with that. And all people are not allowed to do the deals A to Z in their process, which that's what I wrote about. And I created many executive teams in dealerships. So I'm of the opinion that if you got a Lexus store, you got a Mercedes store, you got a Jaguar store, that is very appropriate to have A to Z salespeople with managers in the background coaching.
So I have all those stores. And I think about it like my Lexus store does a fantastic job with it. They really do. And that I have always been mixed on this model, but we do have team leads in addition to those executive salespeople that do it start to finish, and their finance numbers are strong. But I think about like my JLR salespeople, and they're not that great on the computer, Jim. I wouldn't trust them to be able to do that. I have an older sales team at that particular location. And I definitely think the consumers would expect a frictionless experience there. But so many customers want to win. And it's almost like even with this justification and showing that, you know, it's one price and it's this and it's this, so many of them, that's their negotiation is part, not just us, but for them, it's part of the process. And if it's not there, I have seen in my stores, and they feel like they've left something on the table. So while I have seen it work personally at some of my stores, at other stores, I don't think I could ever.
I would not do this necessarily in the majority of Ford dealerships.
Oh, goodness, no.
No. Jennifer Patton, what do you think?
Well, I tell you what, I think you have to meet the customer where they're at. And I think we have customers coming into buying cars from us at different phases. We all know many of them are becoming more educated because they've done the research online. They're just seeing if the car is still available and ready to purchase. And some of them really, especially moving into the electric vehicle market, I think we have a lot of customers that want to be educated, right? They want to understand the differences. And so I think, you know, Jim, you talk about Jimisms, right? Zieglerisms. You know, I think that's one of my isms is meet the customer where they're at. And your process should meet that when you meet your customer. You should train your people to understand where the customer's at and meet them where they're at. And Lisette Gold came in from, she's the head of Google Automotive Industry Relations, and she came in and she said, the most important thing is to create a frictionless process. And she wrote a dealer book, and she's got this handout. It talks about how you should optimize yourself. And at the end of the day, as long as the experience from the customer is frictionless, you're going to win. And so I think that's the focus we need to look at is each individual customer, we have to tailor our experience to where they're at in their process. So that's
I'm going to jump over to, I got somebody in the starting gate here just dying with the starter pistol. Okay, Dave.
Yeah, no, I so agree with what you just said, though, Jennifer. But on top of that, I think dealers have to really look at different markets. You know, you've got, whether it's, you know, the other Jennifer on this or Bobbie or I that travel to all different places in America, you know, you're going to have some markets. I mean, I can picture one of my dealers in Naples, Florida, where you have a group of customers that comes into that Lexus store that, just like you described, they love no, I want more for my trade. I don't care what your website said. And then you've got other customers in different parts of America that are going to be so completely comfortable. You look at what Adam Sims at Price Sims Auto Group did, and the fabulous work he pioneered for the last 12 years around, I'm going to have a special team that delivers one price, non-negotiating, one person sort of activity. And so I think as we approach it, what we have to do is help dealers make the smart decision of what will happen in their market, how will it evolve, and help them through the continuum. You know, that Adam Grant says in his new book, when he talks about thinking again and how we have to think about change and consumer change, I think you have to watch the consumer change almost a little bit by market and by brand, and meet the brand and the marketplace where they are, and not just try and hit a rubber stamp and go, okay, everybody's going to be ready for this in every marketplace.
No, not even. I mean, I've already talked to A to Z Sync, and I'm redesigning their F&I process, because admittedly, most people that are doing one touch will admit that the F&I process is where the process is weak. That every one of the one price stores, the F&I part of it is the weakness. What's your thoughts, Patrick?
Well, you know, and I've been saying since Cox Automotive years ago, when they bought Dealer Track, and then they acquired Manheim and stuff, I started watching them on, oh, they're doing something. They're going to make a shift maybe to direct to consumer sales. But I always said, like, the reason that they haven't done it, maybe it's not in their model or whatnot, but one of the reasons maybe they don't even look at it is they haven't figured out that F&I part yet. And I've always said that, exactly. I always said, as soon as somebody figures that out to where it works, that's going to be a huge change in just about everything we do.
See, but I don't think that's technology, Patrick. I think that's the consumer having reservations about that type of financial commitment. So unless they figure out how to play with people's minds or make them more confident, like, if I am signing a piece of paper for a $70,000 car, I want to look you in the eye. And I always wondered that too, because we sell a lot of cars sight unseen. Customer never comes to the dealership. An enclosed trailer picks it up out front, and they wire $250,000 to us, and they've never seen the car in person. But now we go through an extensive process of going through everything about that car. We give them the RO report. We do walk around videos. We send them all the information we possibly can, in the hopes that obviously we get them to that point. But again, like you said, Jennifer, that's not everybody. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people. Me, for instance, I would never buy a car that I can't actually drive personally. And I've bought hundreds of cars at the auction, thousands of cars at the auctions before. But for me personally, if I can't drive it, if I'm going to put somebody in my family in it, and I can't make sure that that the touch, the feel, the smell, everything of it just triggers all of those emotions that you're supposed to get when you're buying a new car, I wouldn't do it. I'm
going to challenge all of that and just say that, because this part always drives me crazy. It won't matter if you fix the technology or make it available for a consumer and or for the customer if every one of the departments cannot work seamlessly together
Of course.
and communicate to the customer. Because right now I can go online and do a full digital retailing tool and sign up for that car and do all the things I'm supposed to do. But you know what happens when it gets sent in? Somebody picks up the phone to try to change the process I just chose instead of following it because they're scared. I can't make the money from the deal if they're not in front of me. Just get them in if you can't do it. Finance didn't get a TO. They can't do it when it's not in front of you, which is all bullshit. No, which is all crap.
Yeah,
I think it's just F-bombs, Bobbie. I think it's just F-bombs.
Bobbie, you're on to something here, because what A to Z proposes, right, is that there would be alignment in comp plans, alignment in culture. If you remove that, what you and I have seen, or at least I think, because you just described what I've seen, is when you don't have that alignment where A, I've bought into the culture of how we create customer experience, and B, you've aligned my comp plan so that I now don't have a motive to say to my salesperson, just get that sucker in here. I don't care what, we get them in. Now things become more possible, and F&I. Most of you got to remember what Ron Fry did with AutoNation Express, right? That experiment they did in Florida for a while. I bought a car through AutoNation Express sight unseen. Mini Cooper delivered to AutoNation Ford here in Scottsdale from Walnut Creek, shipped. I got to tell you, you can make the experience work when everybody is aligned.
So nobody will like this, but listen, here's the truth. If it wasn't possible for it to work and all these things mattered, Carvana wouldn't have a company. You know why they have a company? Because none of us listened. And so they came out and did exactly what the customer wanted, and we're all angry with them. Like, how dare they say it's hard to go to the dealership? Because it's true. All of their marketing for their success is based on the complaints of customers. I can pick my car, finance my car, have it delivered to my house, and if I don't like it, they'll take it back. And guess what? They're not out of business. They're making gross. They have inventory right now. It's really, it comes down to any dealers or anybody that's listening. It doesn't matter what you have as an intention in the store if you don't put in a plan, and if you say to your people, do it because I said so. The minute you walk away at the desk, they're like, no, we can't tell them what 3.9 equals. Well, it's on your website. They already checked it, right? Like, we already have the option. If you listen and you follow through with transparency, you can ask anybody for anything because you've created an expectation and shown your commitment to it, and they'll be honest with me.
Well, and a lot of the, finance hasn't had a turn, just get them in. A lot of times that comes because there are desk managers still doing what they're not supposed to be doing by packing products at the desk, packing payments.
No.
You get a call, you mark the rate up 6-8% instead of the 2 points you're allowed to do it. That's all because there's a lot of weak managers still in the business that are running it day to day, and they can't do their job the way they do it unless they do it the only way they know. Which is not the way they're supposed to.
Everybody wait a second. Let's get LG in on this. LG, what are you hearing here?
Well, I love it. Where I probably love it the most is how do we do this from a customer's viewpoint? Because anything that we do internally is really a hobby, right? If we don't monetize it and get it across that desk where it becomes transactional. So how does a customer view it? And I think one of our audience members had the great question, is it a part of culture? And if you know it is, in terms of your market, then how are you going to handle your business? Or if you're trying to create the market, what is the internal decision there? And for me and for the department, it's always a matter of perspective. There is no right or wrong. I'm watching entrepreneurs in the marketplace, and that's the fascination for us. How do you compete in that marketplace? How do you win? And I know it's dog eat dog. I've been there. I know it's dog eat dog. For those of us that's what jazzes us up, it's watching that and knowing that the market is unforgiving, right? It doesn't pick winners or losers. Your processes pick winners or losers, and how you go to market is going to determine who the winner is. And hey, that is the game plan for me, is how the winners go to market.
And you great. What you said there is great, because we touched on this at the very first show of actually taking a look at what it looks like to the customers.
You weren't on the first show because you couldn't figure out how to work your computer.
Well, what you guys were talking about with it is that, like, when we do our designs or we do our digital retailing, the way that we're trying to create it, we're creating it from our perspective instead of looking at it from the customer's perspective as to what they would like. You know what I mean? So I think that's a great point with that, because we're not looking at it or coming from it from that perspective. We're always back in like what we want to do. I believe, Bobbie, you were the one that said that on that show. We need to start looking at it from the customer side.
Well, even that Facebook user, what they asked was,
and that's Steven Stassi, by the way, guys. Yeah. That's who that Facebook user is.
Yeah. Who is it?
Where is it, Jennifer?
Yeah, I can see it on I'm looking on Facebook. It's Steven Stassi.
Oh, Steven. So what he's actually saying is, are they negotiating as a part of their culture? And yes, sometimes in specific cultures, negotiation is both a requirement and taught. But in all cultures, we've taught the customer that they have to negotiate to win.
Yes.
So the only way to get them to feel a win without a negotiation in one price scenario is to build trust through communication, and then to be able to follow through with it, so that we retrain a generation of buyers and dealers that you can do this. You can sell a vehicle at market value without it having to be a big deal. You can also give market value for a trade-in and complete everything in one step if you don't try to sideswipe stuff. But like Patrick said, yes, there are some weak people out there that are payment packing and stuff, but I would challenge to say that the majority of people at a desk aren't intentionally trying to say just get them in because they just have to get them in so they can pack something. Most of them don't know how to do what they do virtually, and who's going to teach them? If there's not anybody coming in, how do they learn that? So it's easier to say, well, this is the right way to do it, than it is to say, I don't understand, help me. That is taught to be a weakness and a vulnerability, and unfortunately, that's what we're dealing with.
LG.
No, great conversation. I always look at it and say, what can I learn from this interaction? What can I learn from this customer? Customer's going to tell you, right, through surveys and reviews, what can you learn as a manager from this interaction? And the surest way to destruction is what? We've always done it this way, so this is the way we're always going to do it. But what drives innovation into the process? Sometimes it's circumstances or external circumstances, but sometimes it's just a manager saying, what's the next right thing to do by a customer? Is payment packing the next right thing to do by a customer? Is that a one-time win, or is that a customer life cycle win? Is that the playbook for my dealership? And I heard this too, and I think it was Patrick, you might have said this, but pay plans determine behaviors, right? So
exactly.
If you reward bad behavior, if somebody throws the penalty flag, we reward that, you're going to keep doing it. But if somebody holds you accountable, you're going to find a different way, or you're going to say, hey, maybe I'm not a fit here because this is the way we do things here. It's that Disney approach. At Disney, this is the way you will do things.
Yep.
Well, I think part of the issue is we don't actually have that plan on how we want to engage with those customers. And Jen said it, meeting them where they come from. I always say that all the time. I'm like, you need to know if your customer converts on your website or the OEM's website, or what does that mean about where they are and who they are? I said, but ideally, a pay plan rewarding bad behavior, who built the pay plan? Does that fit the innovation that you're trying to do? And of course, how do we expect our team members to know which way they're going as far as this if we don't, from the top down in a leadership position, build that out so that they know and that they do know? And finance being the weak part of it, I will share with you that one store where we do have it one touch cradle to grave, because we've taken the time to make sure that their finance managers, as well as product specialists or sales consultants or whatever you want, they know A to Z, not to say A to Z sync, right? Not related, but they know how to sell those products and not just cars. And I don't think that with the way we've had in this business, Bobbie had said it, but the flip where people don't like to ask for help, but so often those who have the knowledge in a dealership don't want to share it.
Yep.
Like
let's touch on the one other thing here. Let's touch on one other thing, because Jim and I have talked about this. Jim, you tell me if I'm wrong, anybody. But we all keep talking about things like frictionless. We all keep talking about meet them where they are. We all keep talking about this. And meanwhile, you've got a 20-something who never envisioned themselves in car sales being hired into a showroom. And we have to answer the question, what do you mean be frictionless? What does it look like for me to not create a rash for a customer? Because that's what friction does. What does it mean when you say, figure out where they are and then help them down the path?
It starts way before they're in your showroom, Dave.
Way before.
Yes, I agree. But right now, I love process, so don't get me wrong and don't kill me when I say this, but we spend so much time on, here's the steps, follow these steps, do these things, that we don't spend time taking these young people that desperately want to feed families, pay bills, and make a career in our business, and we don't take them through the skills of how do you want me to do this?
So, you know what?
Dealers don't invest the money in that.
I'm really glad you said that. So I'm going to give a pro tip for everybody watching right now that's free and that will cost you nothing, that we teach every day in our company. The very first thing that you should be doing is going through the customer experience on every one of your lead sources. Go to your website, use the digital retailing tool, and then when it comes into the CRM, when you send the test in, don't do it during the day, don't be a jerk. When the test comes in, see what it says. Does it say modal abandoned payment right after a trade opportunity came in, and right after, within the last week, a website lead came in? What does that tell you? It tells you the customer was hot on your website on a vehicle. They wanted to know the trade number so that they could see what they were working with, because they don't want to call you, and then they ran the payment. And if you don't know that when the source comes in, how in the world are you going to acknowledge that to the customer to build the trust to actually have an easy and efficient transaction for both people involved? It's simple. Go through and learn your lead sources. And if you say to yourself, well, our marketing company didn't tell us, or nobody taught me in the dealership, good, because then you can experience it from the customer perspective. Then go back to the lead source you tested in your CRM and see if the way that you're answering or interacting with them, whether they're an internet lead or a showroom traffic visit, see if you would have answered, if you would have engaged, and if you would have bought, and it will change the way you look at it. And it's free.
Well, I want to get Jennifer Patton in this conversation.
Go ahead, because I'm gonna be
there.
the quiet Jennifer right now, because I'm dying to talk on it.
Everybody's got to fight for the #1 spot here.
So I actually bought 3 vehicles last week. So I went through this consumer process 3 different times.
They're paying you too much.
Never.
My experience was I wanted to use technology to get the information I wanted when I wanted it, to be able to do the research, but I still feel we're in the relationship business.
Yeah.
In the people that I wanted to do business with were people that gave me a good customer experience, right? So some of those, you talk about the executive team. I purchased a Tesla. So the Tesla experience was that executive team, start to finish. They handled the whole thing, you know? And so I think we have to focus on the tools that we have available as tools, but we're still in the relationship business. So like Bobbie said, you have to experience the tool and see how is that helping, creating, or hurting your relationship that you're trying to create with your customer. Time is money, so don't waste my time. It's the worst thing that you can do. So make sure that if I want information, I'm getting the information, whether that's a lease payment on the website, whether that's completing it. But at the end of the day, even though I'm a car girl and I ran a dealership and I do all this, I still wanted to come in and touch the car. I still wanted a salesperson to give me the experience and tell me all about the electric features. I still wanted that experience. I still wanted to sign the paperwork in the dealership, even though I knew it like the back of my hand. So again, meet the customer where they're at. But I think it comes back to understanding what it is they want and when they want it. And like Dave said, it's training, right? It's training your salespeople.
Yep.
Now, let me real quick, because you bought a Tesla, and I've been always interested about this. You started the process with this months ago, then, did you not?
Yeah.
You didn't just walk into a Tesla dealership because those aren't there.
Yeah, actually, I did. I walked into a Tesla dealership in Clarkston, Michigan.
Okay.
And I called ahead of time and I said, do I need to make an appointment because it's COVID? And they said, if you come on Saturday, yes. If you come during the week, no. So I walked in the dealership as soon as they opened, and I looked at the showroom. I said, tell me the differences in the models. He was extremely educated. He was a product enthusiast. He got me so excited. I couldn't wait to drive the vehicle. I drove it for like 2 seconds and said, this is the fastest car I probably have ever driven. I want to order it.
Excellent. Okay. So the only one that I've seen is not a dealership. It's like an information center. You go in, they have just a bunch of information everywhere. They don't even have the cars on the ground there.
There were 8
That's why I was
cars to
intrigued
drive.
by that.
Yeah, 8 cars to drive and 2 in the showroom. And my salesperson walked me over to the computer, and we went online just as if I would have at home and looked at it. And he showed me color options and meal options and the self-driving feature. We hit the order button and it was handled. Then I got a text that said complete your delivery process online. And then there was this whole experience afterwards with Tesla. It was intuitive. It was so intuitive.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun.
It's the same. Tesla does the same thing here in Arizona at the locations. I'll tell you an interesting one, though. There's a Lincoln dealer that opened a Tesla-like site in a, outdoor shopping here in Scottsdale thing, and they're trying to do exactly what Jennifer just described. There's 4 cars in that showroom across from 2 really popular restaurants, and over in the parking structure are 2 of each ready to go on test drives. And I looked in there, I thought it was a Tesla showroom. Then I saw Anderson Lincoln on the sign, and I went, doggone if Dave Kimmerly didn't figure out something interesting, and he got Ford to say it was okay. And I think we're going to see more of that, making things that easy. People will pay us for that kind of convenience.
You'd be surprised by how many Canadian dealers are already doing this. They have the storefronts the regular way, but they have one of each model or trim level. That is a normal occurrence there for test drives so that customers don't have a wait time. They actually go almost the opposite process that we typically follow in the United States.
LG, did you turn the lights out?
No. I am so intrigued
I can see LG on my side screen, but I can't hear him.
Oh, I can hear him.
I can hear him.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say this is a great conversation. I love to hear it.
Can you see LG? Can you see LG on the screen?
Yes, we can. Yeah.
Okay, there he is. Okay.
Yeah. No, this is
amazing.
Great conversation, and it's is it where the industry is headed? And obviously at Northwood in our association with NAD, does that Tesla model, does that work for consumers? Does it work for the industry? Does it work for everybody on this panel? It's one thing for General Motors and Ford and Chrysler and Toyota and Honda to say at NADA, we've got a strong independent dealer network. It's another thing to watch what's happening and saying, if they bust through that wall, we're going to bust through that wall also. And,
and a lot of us don't have a choice right now because we just don't have the cars. So it's kind of like that. I got like 2 Camrys. I don't have any RAV4s, but we can order it for you. So we're forced into it in this moment in time.
Sure.
But I think part of, and I wanted to echo back to something that Dave had said. He was saying that you could teach process and try to say, do this, do this, do this. But I think the problem there is, again, back to that why. And I'm a huge advocate of every desk in a dealership being its own business. And if I can't tell you, do this, A, B, C, whatever. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to run your own business. And then when that's important to you, you'll figure out the rest of the steps. And it won't be because I told you to follow XYZ steps in a process. class. It will be because it's customized to fit my market, right? Where my stores are. You know, like Bobbie had said, in Canada, different game. In Arizona, different game. I love that Lincoln store has done that. That's fantastic. But it's got to be catered to fit how the business can grow in that area. I really have a struggle with, and maybe it's just because we're so unique, like there is no one size fits all. I remember the first day I heard the word Carvana. Dale Pollock had came to train our sales managers at Feldman. Jen Patton, you're going to love that. I think I shared that story with you when I diva'd out with Auto Trader, and they were like, what can we do for you? I was like, you could have Dale Pollock personally come train all my sales managers. That would be fantastic. And Dale is the one who had said, we're looking at all these different things and being frontline ready digitally. And he's like, you need to check out this company, Carvana. And I was like, who the heck are these people? But they're trying to fill a need. It doesn't mean that the regular dealership can't fill a need. I think we just need to stop. It's got to be just like Walzer. It's got to be just like AutoNation. It needs to be right for your community and your consumer base, and start thinking about them front and center. Teach your teams how to run the business that serves them. And it's no longer point and click and touch the desk and do this. We're actually just taking care of people. I don't understand what's so hard. And
Jennifer, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I feel like I say this every week. Like, I just don't get it, because I feel like I've been doing this for a decade already since coming into operations. You find out what your customers need and you just take care of them.
Yeah. No, and I was just going to say, and you know what we need to also stop doing about it, because now we've been doing for about, almost 10 years now. We need to stop bitching about it. You know what I mean? Carvana, like Bobbie said, is filling a need and filling a void. Maybe we need to start paying attention to what that void and that need that they're filling is, and stop calling them disruptors and complaining about this and complaining about that. And let's get busy. Let's get busy creating those things for our stores, for our markets, for our salespeople, so we don't have to complain about whether or not we're going to be able to compete.
Carvana is just a threat. It is really not a factor. Now, they're selling such a minute portion of the retail cars that are being sold, and we're acting like they are a major disruptor of the industry.
Right.
And I still don't think they're in the black yet. I think it's all red. Looking at their profits quarter by quarter.
And if you look at Carvana, the guy that founded it is a convicted felon. I mean, we talk about the ethics of the thing. The guy was part of the Charles Keating scandal that cheated all those old people out of their life savings back in the 80s.
That was the S&P scandal, right, Jim?
Oh yeah, the S&P, the savings and loan scandal. So come on. I mean, can we do it better? Of course we can do it better. Can we deliver the cars? Yeah, they don't even have some of the cars they advertise. I mean, come on. I mean, they're a threat. They are not a factor. They are not a factor. They are a threat. And only a minute portion of the public is buying from Vroom or from Carvana or any of these people.
What is that actual stat? Do you know, Jim? Like what their market share is? I know, Jennifer, you probably
remember most statistics as quoted by a speaker are made up on the spot.
Go back to something else Jennifer said. She said, we've got to stop this one size fit all thing, right? I talk about this all the time, because how many of us in training, I'm not including the panel, right? But how many of us in training have gone around the country from dealer to dealer and said, no, my solution, my way of training you, my way of doing this, that, or the other thing is the right way. Well, is my market different? And then we all say the same thing. Hey, if I had a dime for every dealer I helped told me his market was different, I'd be rich and living on an island. And I tell dealers all the time, look, I believe it's my responsibility as a company to start with assessment, to start with understanding. We call it a listening tour, but I've been part of the problem in the past, and daggone it, we've got to start listening and understanding individual markets, just like Jennifer described. And we've got to start doing better at training. We can't keep walking around, and nobody on this panel, don't get me wrong, but we've got to stop walking around with our briefcase making a great living for us individually and telling every dealer we have the solution for their market. Let's just call that out.
Yeah, I think it's funny.
Well,
I actually
do
tell
have the
dealers to
solution.
throw those people out. If they come in, they're like, I've got the magic mix. You have to do it exactly this way. I'm like, throw that person immediately out of your dealership.
Yeah, I got to say, I have probably been in more dealerships than anybody in this room. I could probably say that just 47 years in the business, you know. And I have never, ever said that we're going to do I don't know of any two dealerships that did it the same way twice. We always customize the process for the environment, for the market, for the people that were in the dealership.
Yep.
And 100%. So, you know, I can't say that I ever, I told people I don't have a selling system. I have certain principles that we teach, certain ways that we want to do business, certain tenets, but nobody ever did it exactly the way I taught it.
Yours were super systems, Jim.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, I think we all
systems.
know those people, though, that Dave is talking about. They are like, this is the way. Here you go. Here is my, set standard of things. And we do know who those folks are. And I think that is a huge disservice. And unfortunately, for a lot of dealers out there, I actually was just unwinding one of those last week, which was great fun. And, we've got to help dealers to understand, because they come in and there's these presentations and look at my results and da-da-da-da-da. And like, I tell people, I'm like, I just sell cars, man. And they're like, what do you do? And I'm like, I sell cars. Now we get into it. It's a lot more complicated than that. But
it is a lot more complicated than that, Jennifer. But there are so many frauds, fakers, never has-beens, and never will-be's out there teaching right now.
So how can we help?
All they got a whole damn bunch of Facebook, social media credentials, and they really haven't done anything in their whole life, and they're out there trying to teach us how to do it.
So as the DAWG Pound, how do we help the dealers watching identify those folks? Because I
check
know
them out.
Check them.
Well,
check them out.
Here's the other part of it.
I'm hiring these frauds, fakers, and people. I had some kid get on my Facebook page and send me a message, and he said, "Mr. Ziegler, I'm thinking about becoming a trainer. I've been in the business at least 6 weeks. There's so many of those out there. I mean, they get off. They create these fake credentials on Facebook. They're just.
Well, I also saw one, Jim, where I had I'm like, I've never heard of this person. Let me check them out. And I go to their LinkedIn. I'm a big screenshotter. Sorry. Yeah. I screenshotted their LinkedIn profile. I'm like, they've been in the business like 5 minutes. It came up again a month later, and somebody asked me about them for a reference. I go back. Oh, magically, their LinkedIn is all different, and they have all of this experience, and they were, a GSM, and they were this, and they were that. And I'm like, hang on. 30 days ago, they didn't have it. But I guess, what are some questions for those of you on the panel? If you were just sitting in that seat, what would you ask somebody pitching you that?
It's a great question.
First of all, I'm one of the few nationally recognized consultants that ever published his resume. You can check me out. All these people, they say, I did really good. I worked at a dealership. Where was that dealership? Do you have any, the only thing I'm pissed off about is all my living witnesses are starting to die off.
Jennifer, you're right though, but I think it has to come down to doing a little bit of pick up the phone. Now, mind you, references are, I've never given out the one that fired me.
I always ask for that, by the way. Whether it's a digital partner, marketing partner, I ask for your 3 most recent cancellations as well.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. We should give that to the whole group, because if we're going to get to figuring out who has done it, I think it has to come down to, why did somebody leave you? I think it also has to come from, please have somebody send me the measurable before and after pictures, right? Keyword measurable. Keywords before and after you, pictures for somebody who says, I can help your dealership with anything. Because if we can't help and we can't move numbers, we cannot run in training from this, oh, I don't know what your managers will do after I leave. We have to be more accountable. The dealer deserves better.
Well,
Every dealership I ever went into, I told the dealer, now your people have already had a meeting in the men's room, the lady room, the joint restroom that they have today, whatever. They had a meeting in one of those restrooms, and they said, let Ziegler gets on a plane Friday. We're going to go back to what we used to do. They already know my flight schedule. They are betting on the managers that this process will lose, because they've seen the managers lose before. Bring in a training process. Nobody does the training process. Nobody enforces it. You know, how many times have I shut on a door on a dealer and said, look, I'm going to save you a lot of money. I'm firing you. I'm going to catch a plane and go home. Pay me for half of my trip. You know, I've fired more dealers than ever fired me because they weren't committed to do a process, any process.
Yep.
I don't care. All processes work, but you've got to marry your process. You've got to do what you say you do. And so many dealerships don't do what they say they do. They don't do what the trainer taught the people. You teach the salespeople one thing, they hit the sales desk, and the managers aren't doing anything like the trainer they hired to train.
Now we're talking.
They don't attend the training unless you force it.
No, we do exactly what we do. That's why I have been successful when other people have not. And I'm not the only successful trainer out there, but I'm one of the few that have actually enforced processes that went beyond my trip into the dealership. Because, you know, we get a firm agreement with a dealer. How many times have I told a dealer, look, I think the best thing for this dealership is to give you a golf bag and a beeper.
We'll call you. Don't call us.
Exactly.
Every client I start with gets a 30-day money-back guarantee with a couple of conditions, and Bobbie just mentioned it about they got to go to the training. The managers have got to all go to the training. The managers all got to role play.
I charge a fine in my contract to the manager no-shows. You pay $1,000 for every employee that misses my training. A manager doesn't show, I'll cancel that class, and you will still pay the bill. Because you cannot send somebody and then send them back to a desk that doesn't know the why and the expectation. You're setting them up for failure.
Yep.
Amen. And that's one of my outs on my agreement, right? I'm going to quit, and I'm not giving you your money back if the manager skipped the training.
Yeah, I'll cancel your class, but I'll tell you this because I think Jennifer's question was so important. If a consultant or a trainer comes into your store and everything's all hugs and kisses and rainbows and unicorns, don't hire them. Because our job is not to make you feel good. That's your spouse's job. That's your job. That's your best friend's job. Our job is to help you make money. And that's not a comfortable conversation. So if you are, everything's all perfect, what do you need it for? And I see that happening so often with people coming out going, hey, you're doing a really great job. Maybe you could work on these two things. Like, no, you're not doing a great job. In these two areas, you're excelling and there could be an improvement. But in these three areas, you have an opportunity to make money, but you're losing it. And that's where our focus is going to be. And that's where it needs to run. Stores, yes, training needs to be a massive thing. But one thing we don't talk about is buy-in. You can't just get somebody to do something because you said so. I can make you do it in your pay plan. I can make you do it because I said so, but you're not.
I disagree. I totally disagree.
You'd fire them.
I don't care about buy-in. It's not their option. It is not their option to buy in.
Well, I'm
sorry. Excuse me. I've had managers walk up to me and say, Mr. Ziegler, let me tell you how we like to do things here. Well, do you think they hired me because you're doing a good job?
Right.
How many times have I said that? No.
But I think that what Bobbie's point is goes back to
I hear this all the time. We're gonna modify your system. We're gonna modify it. Modify means screwed with. You're gonna bring in an award-winning chef and tamper with the recipe. Quit it.
Well, and you're right. You don't have to do that part, but we all know that you can come into some place. I can guide anybody to the answer I want because the win is not in the argument, it is in the outcome. And by the time we're done, your idea is going to be what I wanted it to be. You're going to feel like it's yours, so that when I'm holding you accountable later as a leader, I can say, well, wait, you're the one who built this. You didn't think it was that important. You're just letting everybody F-bomb you. And
Bobbie, I always win over the survivors.
That's what I mean. But that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean by buy-in. Not don't have to do it if you don't want to, but an influence needs to happen in order for the leaders to do it, or you have to fire them. Right? Those are the two options. Or you go back to what it was.
4 E's in Zieglerism. Hang on. Jennifer Patton, do you know the 4 E's of Zieglerism?
Yes, you have to educate, elevate, exterminate.
No, exterminate's last.
There's one more.
Evaluate.
Elevate.
Evaluate.
You gotta evaluate, educate,
Yep.
elevate, and if they won't elevate, you exterminate.
Yep.
At Gardner, we used to say train, transfer, terminate.
Guys, we got 2 minutes left. I'm going to run around the Jennifer, since you're on the main screen, give us a couple sentences to end the broadcast. I'm gonna go around the room.
Yeah, so I think the focus is we're in the business of customer relations. And I think we have to stay focused on the customer experience, and we hear that and we round it all off, but you need to go through it at your dealership, like Bobbie said, go through and mystery shop your store from all the avenues, your front door, your phone door, your email door, and make sure that you're giving a good experience to your customer and you're training your people to give a good experience to your customer, and you have processes in place to get it executed.
Okay, LG, take a couple sentences here.
I love it, and I can just echo what everybody said. For me, it's education, economics, and enthusiasm, and those 3 E's will get you to where you want to go. So, thank you, Jim, for this opportunity.
All right. Patrick, what do you got to say, big guy?
As we do these conversations, every week and stuff, it's something that it keeps playing back in my mind is I think, and we've said it before, I hear Bobbie say this all the time, dial in your processes, have your people follow your processes, especially now when there is time where there's not as much inventory. You have a chance to dial stuff in a little bit further, so that when we come out of it, you're ready to go and you're off to the races. So I mean, I think everybody just really dial in what works, eliminate what doesn't, and keep moving forward.
Briggs, what do you got, kid?
Well, I feel like we went all over on this today. I think the biggest thing is to understand that every person has a different why. Tie back to what LG had said at the beginning, and I'm a huge fan of that. I do this highly technical evaluation with my stores and individual team members called a shoulda, woulda, coulda. And by the end of that shoulda, woulda, coulda, I don't have to try to convince them to take advantage of these opportunities. They are fired up and ready to go to help and serve the customers. But I think too often we just don't put focus on it, and we should. Back in the day, the OEMs used to subsidize this training for us. I think when I started back at McDonald, Cadillac, Oldsmobile, Pontiac, we had training every week. And now it's nothing. And so if you should be making this investment in your team, whether it's internal or bringing somebody in from the outside, make sure it fits what you want to do and how you want to grow into your community.
Exactly. When I got into car business a long time ago, they put me in a room with a bunch of Jackie B. Cooper training tapes and said, don't come out till you're trained. And that was the only training I ever received. And guess who's here? Bobbie. In two sentences, 3 sentences, maybe.
I'll keep it short.
Wrap it up.
So here's my advice. Tomorrow, if you're a leader in a store or if you're a salesperson or whatever, I want you to look for a person on your team that has a skill that needs to be highlighted in the store. Let's say it's working the service drive. I don't care what it is. And then in the meeting tomorrow, I want you to chuck all the nonsense and the negativity and have a hyped up session and let that person teach for 10 minutes. pull up your CRM on the screen, show that team where to find the customer that fits that word track, and then put a contest in place like poker so that it can be played all day long. And then in the next morning's meeting, whoever has the best hand wins free lunch. People do not need big things to learn, and that's training. You can hire us, you probably should, but you could always train your team that way too. And then if you have questions, look me up. I'm down to answer them, and I'm in the office all week.
Okay. Dave, a couple sentences. Wrap us up.
Yeah, no, this was a great session. I think for me, it's really just making the commitment. The first thing that has to happen, and I hope what everybody takes away from all of us today, is making some commitment to this next generation, whether you're a GM or a sales manager or a service director. The money's flowing right now, but make the commitment that you're going to help that next generation, whether they're on your service drive, whether they're in your showroom. They're just trying to figure out how to pay bills to a large degree. How are we going to help them get to where they are in your job 20 years from now? Start there.
Send them to Northwood.
Send them to Northwood. Absolutely. I want to thank LG, and I want to thank Jennifer for being on the show today. LG Bright, Jennifer Patton, Northwood University. We had a great show, even though Bobbie and I don't always see eye to eye. There we go. Bobbie, one thing. What did you think of my puppy?
Oh my gosh, so cute. I'm going to come play with her. I tried to get Jim to bring her on the show. She's all cute and adorable. These are closers, dude. I'm telling you.
Okay, everybody, hang around for a second or two. I'm going to end the broadcast. Everybody wave.